Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're good today. I'm back with Freddie Cardy, and we're just saying off air that it's been such a while since we've spoken about the Arsenal women team, and there's definitely a lot to go through. But first of all, Freddie, thank you for coming back on my channel. How are you doing? How's your summer been?
Yeah, you're welcome. Good summer, nice and busy. I've sort of been working in cricket this summer, which has been really good fun. And sort of the Arsenal women news has sort of kept on coming. So yeah, it's been busy, but enjoying it. How about you?
Yeah, me too. I mean, obviously, it's been great as well for the Lionesses this summer. I've enjoyed watching the Euros. That's been great as well, and it'll be good to obviously have the women's team back because it feels like the longest time since they've played. But obviously in today's video we'll be going through, the window and the season coming up. But obviously I'll just briefly speak about it. But we obviously, last season we did win the Champions League. I mean, because we've obviously won that, and I actually didn't think we'd actually win it, but do you think this gives us more expectations going to next season? Because you think Renée, obviously, she's had a window now, she's had some time, but do you think there's more kind of pressure on her to achieve a lot in all these, this season, next season, when that happens?
Yeah, and I think it's the best kind of pressure when you sort of show what you can do and then you create your own expectations. You bring that pressure on yourself. That was a very different type of pressure Arsenal were under at the start of last season. We've known for a while that Arsenal should be competing more for the WSL, competing more for the Champions League. There have been reasons as to why, they've not done it. But now they've sort of got this coach and almost the expectations can just be widened so much because they've proven what they can do. They've clearly got one of the best, young managers in Europe. They've won the Champions League. They've got a squad that's capable of winning the Champions League. And they've added to that squad. I think the squad depth is the best it's been in years. They look really sort of covered for pretty much every position, which is what you have to be to compete with Chelsea. So yeah, and I think the fans and the club, I think those expectations are starting to match now, and that the club, I think that the backing Arsenal have got in this transfer window, almost quite similar to the men as well, and both in terms of adding that value to the squad, adding the squad depth, and then those star players, if you like, with the Olivia Smith or Chloe Kelly. You look at Gyökeres and Zuba-Mendy. I think there's actually a lot of similarities between sort of the business that's been done across the men's and the women's side, both of them wanting to go sort of one better and win the league. But Arsenal proving they can win the Champions League, I just think it opens up so many possibilities. And, those people at the club who've been thinking, how do we compete with Chelsea? Well, they've proven they can compete with anyone now. And I think they've backed them really well this summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as you said, especially with Chelsea, they've been really trying to win the Champions League like these past few years, and I think the fact we've done it as well shows you that if we can do that, we could definitely win the league next season. I think it's difficult with the league because I know Chelsea have been they've always won it for a long time. They're the favourites probably going into the season, but I think, as you mentioned, with what Renée's done, I think the bar's really high. We can achieve anything really. And as you mentioned as well, of the window, we've made quite a few signings. I've been really impressed. We've obviously had outgoings happen as well. Obviously, we saw Chloe Kelly. I think Chloe Kelly is the one that we all thought that is the best thing for us to do. I think Olivia Smith's the one that I'm probably the most excited about. But what have you made of the window? Because obviously I do like Arsenal women shows on here, and there's people that still think that we potentially need like a midfielder to come in. Like, do you think we'll make any more changes? What's your overall thoughts of the window so far?
Yeah, the midfield one I was thinking about earlier, because almost in a year, the answer is yes. I
Yeah.
think where Kim Little and Leah Valti are, and I think there's still so much more to come. I think Kim Little, how the partnership she's formed with Mariona, and how good she's been in the Champions League in particular. And then with what's to come as well, Victoria Palova's back from injury, Kyra Cooney-Cross, of course, as well. Mariona Caldente has been playing in a deeper role. So I think, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing in a midfielder this summer, but I don't really know how you fit everyone in and keep everyone in that case. I think next summer, absolutely. And it's going to be one or two. And one of those, you want a world-class midfielder walking in. What I've liked about Arsenal summer is how early they've got the business done. I think everyone who'd come in was before the end of the Euros. Sort of, I think by the quarterfinals, Arsenal had brought in 4 players. As you say, the Chloe Kelly one, we sort of knew that was going to happen. Anna Kaborba's a bit surprising. I don't have any info on Manu Zinsberger leaving. I actually think they might be, and she might be inclined to stay and almost be a third choice goalkeeper, which would give Arsenal so many options, between the sticks. And then I agree with you. I think Olivia Smith, it's just such a statement. That's the sort of signing that Arsenal haven't really made. And that's the sort of player who in past years would have ended up going to Chelsea, and we would have all gone, we could have we've missed out there, could have just paid a little bit more money. And I think Arsenal will like the fact that they've done it. They've done the first £1 million transfer. I think she's so exciting. And just again, adding to that, the depth out wide now, which they really needed, having Kelly and her, and then the depth in defence with Taylor Hines. So maybe one more player, and I'm sure Arsenal are open to more, but I think they're almost good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, if the window ended like this, I would be happy, because we've definitely got a lot of depth, especially in defence, as you mentioned, in the midfield. You have got like Camilla Volti, and you've also got, as you've mentioned, Palova, Cooney Cross as well. And I think for me, going to next season, like, I feel happy. I feel like we'll be okay with the midfield. I think, as you mentioned, in the future, as we mentioned, maybe next season, it might be a thing to talk about, because we obviously don't know how long Kimmel will be playing for. Obviously, it'd be nice for her to stay for a few more seasons before she might think about retiring. Obviously, Leah Volti, I think she's about 32 now. So you're coming to the stage where maybe for Leah Volti, she might want to go somewhere else before she retires. So I think right now, I don't think we need to worry. I think we're in a good place. I did want to obviously ask you about Olivia Smith, because I mean, we've seen how great she was at Liverpool, and as you mentioned, I actually thought she would actually go to Chelsea. I never thought we would actually get her, and it would be done so quick. Do you see it as like a starter? Because I've been having these conversations with you guys on here, and I think it's hard because Ford has had such a good season. Chloe Kelly has, and everyone that's played deserves to start. And now I look at it and I think Olivia Smith, maybe she would probably come off the bench, but there might be a point where it might be a bit of a headache for Renée to make that decision on who to start in the team.
Yeah, I think if you look at the first game of the season against London City Lionesses, I'd be surprised if Smith starts. I think you have to give her a little bit of time to build her way into the squad. She's featured in a couple of friendlies now. Arsenal have still got that West Ham friendly as well, maybe one more. But I think you can't put too many expectations on straight away. On what's still a young player who's at a really sort of quick rise, still a raw player. But I think Arsenal are going to rotate those wingers all season. I think when you look at, you've got to play now in an expanded Champions League, or I think there's one more game, 1 or 2 more games in the Champions League. Lovely not to have qualifying, but it's still a lot of football. They've got this FIFA competition in January as well. Caitlin Ford's going away to the Asia Cup early next year. So that depth out wide is so important. And I think Smith she's going to be an impact player from the bench, a little bit sort of how Chloe Kelly was. But I just think you wouldn't be surprised if she is starting, sort of very soon. But I think there's going to be a lot of rotation on the wings this season, just because the options are so good.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely a great thing to have, because I've no doubt we'll have injuries in the season. As you mentioned, Ford will have to go away for a bit. So I think that's definitely a really good thing to have. And obviously, Ford has been so good. So I'm with you. I expect her to start on the first game of the season. But it's good to have this competition. It's obviously really healthy. And I wanted to ask you a bit about Beth Mead, because when we all saw London City Lionesses wanted her, I think it wasn't a surprise that someone put an offer in, because as we've just mentioned, that we've got a lot of sort of depth now. We've got a lot of options, and obviously Beth Mead has been amazing last season. She's sort of been that player that comes off the bench and sort of changes the game. And I can understand if she ever wanted to leave to get, being a regular in a team and to be a starter. Do you think Beth Mead will stay? I think to myself, like, I'm not sure. She's away with the team at the moment, so obviously I'm hoping she'll stay. But do you think she's still got a bit in her left at Arsenal?
Yeah, I do wonder. I wonder. I can't see her wanting to go to London City Lionesses at this stage in terms of not playing Champions League football. I can understand this move being made, and maybe another club who are playing Champions League football. And this is pure speculation, I should say. But if say a Man United or Man City were to then come in and say, how about you're going to come here and start and play more football, which maybe there is more of a possibility, I can understand her being open to that move. It's hard to be in the shoes of a player, especially when London City are very ambitious. I don't think anyone expects them sort of to be battling relegation this season. I think there's a lot to like about what they're doing, about the squad they've built, and I think they would, especially with the whole Lionesses brand, signing a Lioness in Beth Mead who's won 2 Euros would make a lot of sense for them. I think it's going to take big money to persuade Arsenal to part her. We've just been saying about how good the depth is out wide. I don't think you'd want to cut that. I think I'd only be happy to let Beth go if you were able to get someone else in. And there's still a bit of time in the window, but you'd want to have someone who you think can come in and sort of take those minutes, because I think that she's still offering a lot. But look, there's a year left on her contract. It maybe depends what Arsenal's maybe more long-term plans are for her. They might be open to the move from the player's perspective. I'm not sure, but it's never easy as a player when Arsenal, as we say, they've added 2 wingers. Mead is probably not a first choice. So yeah, it's going to be one to keep an eye on. But really a statement from London City. But from Mead's perspective, I guess we're not really sure, what she's going to do.
Yeah, I'd be interested, like you said, to see what she'll end up doing, because I do think she is definitely a player that deserves to be in the Champions League. I know a little while ago, I don't think it was true, but it seemed like United might be interested in her. But I could see her going to a team, whether that's United or someone that's in the Champions League, because she's definitely good enough to be at that level. I think at the moment, like you said, she's probably not a starter, but she would definitely play in the cup games and come off the bench. I mean, the Champions League final, we saw what a difference she made. So I think there's definitely a place for her in the team. And I think a lot of us would love her to stay. As we've mentioned, depth is so important in this team. But yeah, of course, a lot of you guys have asked me about Beth Mead, and there hasn't been an update on that. It's just they've been interested in her. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens about that. And I wanted to ask you actually a bit about Michelle Adjumang, because she had incredible Euros. And even before that, we knew what an amazing player she was. For you personally, do you think she would go on loan in the season coming up, or would you try to fit her in the team? Because we've also got Steel Blackstenius, haven't we? You've got Russo, so it's hard to find a place for her in the team at the moment.
Oh, I've been going back and forth over this all the time. It's a nightmare of a decision, but such a nice decision. And I'd love to know. I'd imagine Arsenal before the Euros were pretty set on her going alone. In fact, it was probably almost certain, and then almost watching what she's been able to do. Now, I know they know exactly what she's capable of doing, but to do that with the added pressure, to do that sort of on the world stage with sort of the nation's hopes on your shoulders, and she just seems so mature, so calm, so mature, not letting it all get to her, not getting above her station in any way. And it's remarkable. I think Arsenal are very, very proud that they're sort of producing these good human beings as well as good players. I think they clearly like Brighton as a loan club. They sent Kafaji there early this summer. Adjumang was there last season. So they obviously like the style of football Brighton are playing, which I think is really important. You don't want her to go on loan to a rival, but you don't want her to go on loan to a club that's playing sort of a completely opposite style of football to you, where she's not going to benefit. What Adjumang needs is just one season of starting. She didn't quite get that from Brighton, but she clearly developed enough in that year where, she became a player ready to start for England. She scored more goals for England than she has for Arsenal, which is quite an amazing place to be at. So I'm not opposed to another loan for her. I think if she's guaranteed more minutes than last season, it's going to be more minutes than probably she would be getting at Arsenal. I just think long-term, her having the season of starts, which she sort of only has had at Watford, sort of playing in the bottom of the Championship, I think this would be a really, really good move for her. And then a year down the line, I think hopefully she'll be ready and raring to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a tough decision, isn't it? Because I think at the moment, you've got Russo, you've got Blackstenius. It is hard to find that room for her. I think long term, she definitely has a future at Arsenal. I think she's definitely one for the future. But I think for now, as long as she's getting those minutes and continue to play, I think that's a good thing. Obviously, I think Brighton, like you said, it's sort of a good club because, like you said, not a rivals, but they're a decent side. And I think it'd be good for her to get minutes. It's obviously tough because you want to have her at Arsenal, but I think the position we're in is, Russo will be a starter. Blackstenius is probably going to be someone that will come off the bench or play in maybe the cup games or whatever whenever she plays. So, yeah, I think it's obviously a tough one to decide, but I think for now, perhaps the loan would be maybe the best thing. And obviously I wanted to ask you about the Euros, because obviously the first time we saw how it changed women's football, especially in England. This time around, do you think it will continue to grow the game, especially after winning it? I know there's been quite a lot of Arsenal players. I mean, I know Chloe Kelly, Adjumang, they're probably one of the most sort of in the spotlight at the moment. So do you think the game is going to continue to grow, not just for Arsenal, but just throughout the WSL?
Yeah, I think we're going to see an uptick in attendances. I think it's hard not to. I think nothing like what the 2022 tournament did, but I'm
Yeah.
really optimistic actually, and I think Arsenal are quite well placed. When you look at the supporters club and everything like that, and sort of this welcoming environment that they've been able to create almost separately of the club. It's happened really organically, where people feel so comfortable to sort of go to their first game on their own, meet like-minded people, sort of socialize around the game outside of it as well. And that community, I think, really separates Arsenal from what a lot of clubs are doing, but then also what the club themselves are doing as well. I think it markets itself after a while. I think probably there are smaller clubs. We need more games in the bigger stadiums. You've proven that in Switzerland. Everyone was saying before the tournament, I'm not sure that there's no stadiums sort of the size of Wembley, or there's nothing sort of 80, 90,000, but every game was sort of sold out, and it was the highest attendance Euros yet. And I much almost rather see a sold out 30,000 seater stadium than maybe a half empty sort of 90,000 one. And I thought they were really, really good hosts, and the amount of English fans that were out there, particularly for the final, people spending a lot of money. These Arsenal fans who've spent all the money on those flights to Lisbon and then going to Switzerland as well, and must have nothing left after this summer. But you look at these players, and to have such an Arsenal involvement out there. Mariona scored in the final for Spain. The final was almost all Arsenal, and now for these young girls who can look and go, well, who does Chloe Kelly play for? Who does Alessia Russo play for? And also the Michelle Adjumang thing as well. For so many young girls of colour now to have this role model, of which there are not enough when you look at the top level of women's football, I think it's massive. So yeah, I really hope sort of the clubs, almost from Arsenal, we're lucky from this fan base that's been built, but throughout the WSL, I think we really need to see clubs sort of marketing a little bit more, putting the games at the bigger stadiums and really capitalising on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously Arsenal, I do think we're probably the best at doing that. We've had some amazing attendances. Like, we were quite lucky to get 20 to 40,000. I think that's amazing. But I think it's about the other teams. I mean, Chelsea do quite good as well, but I think maybe the other teams that are lower down in the league, I think it'd be great to see them get that sort of credit as well, and maybe more, like you said, the marketing's a big part of that as well. So I think I'm interested to see how it will go. I know obviously when England first won the Euros, that was really magical. I know this is quite different, but I do think that it's going to be much better this time, and hopefully we'll continue to grow the attendances. I just wanted to say big up to everyone that's just joined. I've got a question I thought I could give you to answer. Big up to Hot Dog. Hey guys, you talk about the depth, but does our sixth depth not concern you? We try to fit players in there, but they're not currently DMs. With Leah's decreasing minutes, are you not looking to strengthen there? I thought you could answer that if you want.
Yeah, it's a good question. Like I said, maybe you can mix and match for a summer, for a season, and then you definitely need to invest with at least one player next summer. Do Arsenal do that? Now, with Renée's management, I think there is the ability to mix and match, and I think she likes that. I think I wouldn't, Leah Cadine has played in defensive midfield in a couple of games, in cup games. Jenna Niswanger made her debut, and in fact spent a lot of her career sort of in that deeper midfield role. So there is a bit of mixing and matching, but I do think for a lot of games where Arsenal are looking to break down defences, do you need those two more defensive midfielders, or can you afford a little Valti? Ideally, Kyra Cooney-Cross continues to develop and sort of works on that defensive side of the game, and then you can have a Mariona, a Pilova, players like that sat in the midfield as well. I still, as I say, if Little and Valti can stay fit, then fingers crossed. Fingers crossed they do, of course. And whether this is Little's last season in particular, don't want to talk about it. Remains to be seen. But yeah, I actually think purely for keeping everyone happy, I think you can mix and match for the season. I think they've proven that they've been able to do it. Mariona playing in that role has been a revelation. I don't think it's where anyone sort of expected her to play. We all thought she'd be on the wing or in the 10. And then if you can have her, if you can have a fit little about it. If we get to January and, you've got 2 defensive midfielders are injured, for example, then you need to go in the market. But like I said to you earlier, if Arsenal said, look, we're going to go out and sign a number 6, and I wouldn't be opposed to it either.
Yeah, I think like you said, we've had a really good window. Obviously, we'll have to see if there might be another sort of player to come in, but I think, unless anyone's leaving, we'd have to replace them. But I think for now, it's probably going to just stay how it is. And I think, as you mentioned, if it gets bad, I'm sure in January we could make some changes. But I think for now, I don't think we have too many problems. I think we'll be okay, obviously, doing that. I wanted to obviously look ahead to the season coming up. I mean, won the Champions League, it still feels so exciting going into the season. What would you say you expect from Arsenal? Because I think for me, I would love us to win the league. I mean, the Champions League would be great to retain that, but is there a certain competition you're hoping to win going into the season?
Yeah, I think Arsenal need to be really competing for the league. To be honest, I think there is no reason why they shouldn't now with this squad. Champions League. An FA Cup would be lovely. It's been far too long since Arsenal got to the FA Cup final, and they've won it more than any other team, but they've really underperformed in that competition, and I think they have underperformed under Renée. I know it's a small sample size in those domestic cups. I think the Liverpool defeat was really disappointing. Nice to have Smith on their side this time around, and then losing to Man City in the League Cup as well. But yeah, I think Arsenal, they've got to be getting closer to Chelsea. They've got to be competing to win the league. I think René's got so much credit in the bank that if they don't, that's fine. But I think you need to be lifting silverware every season. And like I say, they've put the pressure on themselves.
Yeah, I think like you said, I think when you do win something so big, you on that pressure next season to, do the same sort of thing. And I think, win the Champions League was so amazing, and to beat Barcelona, it shows that we can do it, and we have the team. I do think as well, as you mentioned, Caldente has been a massive part of the season, and I think we've got a really good squad now. I think you look back a few years ago to now, I think we're in a really good place. And as you've mentioned, I think to go sort of toe-to-toe Chelsea, I mean, I think it would be good to go right till the end with Chelsea. It has been a few seasons. We have obviously competed, really close to them a few seasons back with Jonas, but I think it would be great for us to sort of do that. Do you expect it just to be Arsenal that are challenging with Chelsea? Do you expect maybe Man City or United to be up there as well?
Yeah, expect a little more from Man City, but I don't think they'll compete. I'm not convinced by their new manager, whose name has slipped my head, but certainly watching Denmark at the Euros, it wasn't completely inspiring. They've had they've done some good business. Sidney Lohmann's a very good player. Any team with Khadija Shaw are going to be in and around it. Viviana Miedema, of course, as well. I think there'll be a bit more, and I think Manchester United are going to be interesting. But I think for them, getting the Champions League is so important, and I wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to get through qualifying, but I think they're going to put a lot of resources, and I don't think their squad is quite big enough to compete across all of these competitions. I think they're lacking a bit of depth, and sort of that's always held them back a little bit, and their backing off the pitch is sort of quite a long way away from a team like Arsenal or Chelsea. So I am expecting a bit of a 2-horse race. I think City will be better. But I think when you look at Arsenal and Chelsea squads and then look around the WSL, I think Arsenal got to be better against Chelsea as well. They lost twice to them last season in the league, didn't they? And those games are so important in a smaller season than the Premier League, for example. So they've got to be better in those big games. But I mean, once you've beaten Barcelona, you're proving you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, Barcelona for me are definitely the best. I mean, they have been for a very long time. So I think it's crazy because I think the Champions League is obviously so different to the WSL, that league, because it's crazy to think Chelsea really struggled against Barcelona, and then we played Barcelona and we were able to put in a really good performance. So I think it's good to have that experience in the Champions League because it's quite different to the league as well. But I think winning the league is probably a bit difficult because, like I said, you can't lose many games, especially in the WSL, because you don't have as many teams. So I think, as you mentioned, like Chelsea, our record against them in recent years isn't bad, but I think last season, I think we were just going for a really bad patch, and then by that point it was sort of over. But yeah, I think for us, we need to try and just beat those teams as well. Man City, United, those are the top teams, but I think as well the low block teams is important, because I think them are usually are the teams that we struggle with whether it's like a West Ham or whoever we face. I think we kind of struggle in those sort of moments. So I'm with you. I think if we can just win the league, that would be amazing. But just to go up until the end, I think we just want to challenge for the league, really. And I know every season it goes by, there's more and more competition. But I think, as you mentioned, we've got a great squad. And I wanted to ask you a bit about the Ballon d'Or, because I think it's amazing to see so many Arsenal players there. I do feel so proud. But who do you think? Do you think any Arsenal players are going to win it? Because I do think that Mateus is probably the favourite because she's a great player. But I think for me personally, it would be lovely to see a Russo. I mean, I know Cardente didn't win the Euros, but she's had such an amazing season for Arsenal.
Yeah, I hope there's not many Barcelona fans watching, but I just
Yeah,
don't see how so many Arsenal players can win the Euros and then win the Champions League, and one of them not win the Ballon d'Or. But then, Aitana Bonmati, great player. I don't think she was anywhere near one of the best players in the Euros, and she was given the player of the tournament. So I think maybe there is just, it's one journalist from every country, from 50 countries decided. Now, how closely they all of these watch it, and the Ballon d'Or is, we all have our own opinions, and it's sort of really kicked off this summer between sort of Arsenal and Barcelona, Spain and England fans. But I think Mariona should win it. I think Williamson should win it. I think Russo has a claim to win it as well. So I think Kelly's a little further off because she's only basically played half a season of football, and she more came off the bench sort of for England, not to take anything away from her. But I think Mariona, how she sort of led Arsenal to that Champions League, she completely transformed them. I don't think they have
yeah.
the season they do without Mariona Caldente having that winner in your side. And she was maybe a little bit quieter in the Euros, but I also think in such a good Spain team, especially with that midfield, it's a little bit easier to go under the radar. But at Arsenal, I just saw a player who wanted to take that team sort of to new highs. So
Yeah.
I would give Mariona the Ballon d'Or. I think Russo can't be far off either as well. But whether that happens, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'd love it to be an Arsenal player. Like, I'll be honest, I don't care. I don't care who it is. I think in a way Caldente does deserve it, because I don't think we could have done it without her in the Champions League. And then Chloe Kelly as well has had an amazing season. I think Russo for me is probably my number one, just because obviously when the Euros with the Lionesses scoring in the final, and I think she's just been so consistent in the season. But I'm with you. I think as long as an Arsenal player wins it, I'll be happy. But I just have a feeling it might go to a Barcelona player, because they've done well in their league, but I think for us, we deserve it. Also, guys, I don't know why, but I have checked on YouTube. I think the stream is a bit funny, but we can obviously hear each other. So I think it might be a problem with the YouTube thing for some reason. So obviously I do apologise about that. I'll just carry on anyway, and hopefully guys can tune in after. I tried to get on YouTube and go on the stream, so I think it's on YouTube. But obviously talking on Renée, I mean, she's had such a great season. I mean, last season was just incredible, and it's been really nice as well to see the team have confidence in her. They've got a great relationship. Do you think if she didn't win anything this season, this would be a problem, or do you feel like she just needs time and more money and windows to really show what else she can win at Arsenal?
Yeah, I guess it depends how it all pans out, really, if they're competing for everything. And look, it wasn't a perfect time under her. As I mentioned, the FA Cup exit, the League Cup exit. Also, those two heavy defeats to Brighton and Villa that crept in between the Lyon and the Barcelona games, which which now look like some of the funniest results of all time, because you've beaten sort of the last two Champions League winners and then lost to Villa and Brighton. No disrespect, but Villa in particular weren't having a great season and got battered, really. by both of them. So there are bits that sort of will need to be improved on. I think sort of the work defending transitions in particular, and then going up against Chelsea. Beating Chelsea has got to happen as well. What's remarkable really is Renée's still only got a year left on her contract. And of course, she signed an 18-month contract in January. She's now on the Champions League. I don't really have an update around that situation, but maybe Arsenal are just going to see, well, I don't think it was a fluke at all. I don't want to say it was, but I think maybe, well, right, let's give her a full season and then reassess. And if anything, come back with a bigger and improved contract, come the summer once, hopefully she's won a little bit more. So yeah, there's still such a small sample size almost under her because she only took over permanently in January. I think rotating the squad as well is going to be really interesting because as interim manager, she sort of just picks her best team every week. She found her best team quite quickly come the end of the season. But there's a lot of players you've got to keep happy, and that can be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think, don't get me wrong, I think she's done a great job, and obviously she has got a good squad, but she's been able to, like you said, deal with the players, manage their minutes because we have got a big squad. I mean, look at the defence we have. We've got a lot of defenders as well, and I think she's done a great job. I think she's learning as well, like we said. I mean, when she became the manager, I thought it was deserved. She got the team back to how they used to be, happy enjoying the football again, and I think she definitely deserved that. But I don't think any of us would have expected her to win the Champions League. So for me, it's just so lovely to see as well how much support she's been getting. And I hope next season we want to win something, but I think we just have to go. For me, I think going toe-to-toe with Chelsea is going to be, the best thing we can do. Obviously, we'll have to see how we do in the Champions League as well. And obviously, as you mentioned before, we do have London City Lionesses on the first day of the season. They've obviously really strengthened quite a lot. They've obviously got a few of old Arsenal players, and I think it's going to be exciting playing against him. But how do you feel having that as our first game of the season? Because for me, I was just thinking, as long as if it's not Chelsea or Man City, like I'll be happy. I didn't want to face them on the first game of the season.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The tickets have sold really well as well, which I think is a good sign of we're talking about the Euros effect. London City's fan base is an interesting one to me, and so I think Arsenal have actually opened up more home tickets sort of in the away end because they haven't quite sold out. So how that sort of pans out is going to be really interesting how it develops over the season. But yeah, it's probably not an ideal one. A couple of former players have gone there in Teo Goldie and Freya Godfrey. They've had a brilliant summer, London City. I think we were expecting them to, but they've really invested well. They've got a lot of experience. They've got plenty of international players. And then some good young talents as well. Izzy Goodwin, I think, was top scorer last season for them, and she looks like a real sort of natural striker. Aslani, and then just international players, experienced players everywhere. They've got World Cup winners in that team, so it's very different to sort of the standard of a team that's come up the last few seasons. And I think they're going to look to play their football. And yeah, I'm intrigued. Arsenal have got one more that friendly against West Ham, and a good chance to experiment there. And yeah, not an ideal opening game, I don't think, against sort of your London rivals when there's a lot of eyes on London City. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'd be weird, like you said, playing against the former players as well. I mean, I think for like Teo Goldie, I think that was definitely a good move for her. I think some of these players coming through, it's hard for them to get minutes in this team as well. So I think it'd be great to see them do well. And I think they've built a really good team. I definitely see them staying in the league, and I think it's going to be a tough game. Like you said, it's not going to be like an easy 3 points. You can never really say that now. I think it's always going to be tough, but I'm absolutely buzzing. It's going to be great to see it come back. Obviously, guys, I think it's an issue with YouTube because we can hear each other. So apologies about that, but it should be okay. I did want to also ask you a bit about the players coming through as well. I mean, like Katie Reid as well. I think she's great at I think she's been amazing to watch. Do you think with like the younger players, maybe like her, we're going to see a bit more of them come into the team? Because I think we have obviously seen a few loans, we've seen a few bits here and there, but do you think that we're going to see more of the younger players get more of a chance in the season?
Yeah, good question. I think we're going to see a lot of loans. I think
Yeah.
Katie Reid, I think, was going to stay around, but I know I was thinking about the loans earlier. From my understanding, Layla Harbert, Cecily Wellesley-Smith, Jessie Gale, Naomi Williams, I think are all set for loans. Maddie Earl, I'd imagine, as well. So there's still a lot of business sort of on that front for Arsenal to do, as well as the, sort of the likes of Ajuman, Kafaji have all already gone. So yeah, maybe not as much this season. Renée really rates Katie Reid. A lot of people do. She can play sort of at right back, where actually a lot of her senior minutes have come, but a centre back option as well, which Arsenal sort of do need. They haven't got loads of depth at centre back, maybe as opposed to sort of some of the other positions. So yeah, I don't know. I hope they'll get sort of their opportunities, but I think we are going to see a lot of loans. There's been a lot of players come through and sign professional contracts in the last few years, and I still think you end up feeling when you have sort of the ACL season like they did a couple of seasons ago, when you give players sort of breakthroughs almost earlier than you're expecting to, you then have to sort of work with that further down the line when actually you've given these players the chance a little earlier than planned, and then it's almost what do you do with them in the case. So yeah, maybe not so much. Maybe it's going to be a little more experience, but I think there's a lot of talent that's come through, and the likes of Taya and Freya, I think, will go on and have really, really good careers elsewhere. I think this is just the standard of players Arsenal are able to produce at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's great as well, because I think for a lot of the players, they kind of need to go on loan, because it's definitely hard to get into this team at the moment. I think, especially with all the experience, the depth that we have. But yeah, Katie Reid's definitely, I think she's a really great player, and I think she will get minutes as well. And yeah, I hope we get to see more of her. I did want to obviously ask you a bit about Norveen Reuter as well, because she's obviously not a surprise to us, but she's obviously she's left and gone to Man City on a permanent deal, and I think she's generally happy, and I think that's for her, and I think for us as well, because Emily Fox is here. She's really amazing, Emily Fox, and she's definitely shown that she should be a starter. What were your thoughts on this decision? Do you think it was like a good thing on both parts?
Yeah, I think Renée just didn't quite fancy the player, which can happen. With new managers, sometimes they can just have different opinions, and I think that was it. I feel for Veen Reuter, because she was sort of brought in to compete with Noelle Maritz and was almost in a position where she was going to be starting, and then she gets injured. Arsenal bring in arguably the best right back in the world now in Emily Fox. I think she's right up there in terms of that position. And then, by January, when Katie Reid, who Renée literally said to me she's going to be more of a centre back, but she was playing, a teenager at right back instead of an Austrian international, I feel we all knew the writing was on the wall. So there's obviously just something that Renée, obviously preferred Taylor Hines coming in, even though she's more of a left back. So I don't know. There's just enough signs that point towards, and I'm sure it's nothing personal whatsoever. Not knowing Laura, but having heard nothing, sort of untoward about her, it just was not a player fancied by the manager, and maybe she's got her own reasons for that. And a good move for her to go to City. Not sure she'll be starting there, but she'll have a better chance of fighting into that team.
Yeah, I think the timing was just a bit tough, wasn't it? Because obviously she had a few injuries, and the ACL was a really tough one for her. And then Emily Fox, came into the team, and she's done amazing. She's been one of probably our best players as well. So I think the timing was tough, and I suppose a new manager as well coming in sometimes doesn't always hit off, like you said. So yeah, I think it wasn't a surprise seeing her go on loan, because I remember when she was at Arsenal, she wasn't getting a lot of minutes because it just wasn't working out, I suppose, with Emily Fox starting as well, because you couldn't really drop Emily Fox. She's come in and she's really shown how good she is. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting as well in the season coming up. But obviously, thank you for coming on my channel. I've had a blast. Apologies to those guys. I don't know what's happened. It might be YouTube stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
No, you're welcome. And hopefully people can watch it back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure some of the stream will be okay. It might just be YouTube, because we can... Yeah, what you might have to restart it, guys, later on. But obviously, big up to anyone that's watched this show. It's been good to chat with you, and yeah, hopefully the women's team can continue to have a really good season. Hopefully, we'll win some more silverware. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. It's been great to chat with you today, and yeah, I will see you all very soon. Bye, guys.